The galaxy was full of noise. Stars burned, planets turned. Ships crossed the dark and steady lines. But on the very edge of the mapped stars, there was something else. A sound that was not a sound. Signal that came only once, then went silent. It was soft, almost nothing, like a whisper carried by a storm. But to the listening stations of the Zorathi science fleet, it was enough. The lead scientist, Kren, stared at the readings. "This is not natural," he said, his voice tight. His crew leaned closer. "Almost too short. Almost too short, too. Be real." But there was structure in it. Patterns, rhythm, intelligent. Across the galaxy, word traveled fast. The Galactic Council was cautious but curious. A meeting was called. They spoke of possibilities, a new species, one that had not yet reached the stars. A race that might be welcomed, or guided, or, if needed, controlled. Soon, the decision was made. A peace fleet would travel to the source of the signal. They would make first contact. If the species was harmless, they would be brought into the fold. If not, well, the fleet was armed enough to handle surprises. The Zorathi ships began their journey. 20 vessels, smooth silver shapes against the black. They carried translators, gifts, and weapons hidden under their hulls. The crews were in high spirits. Some spoke of meeting a new ally. Others whispered of conquest. For 3 weeks they traveled through empty space, following the faint trace of the signal. But with each jump, something strange appeared on the scanners. It was small at first. A faint point barely more than a shadow on the edge of detection. The crew called it a blip. "It's just interference," said Captain Draven of the lead ship. But the blip grew clearer every day. It never moved. Like a star, it never vanished. It was always there, always the same distance from them, no matter how far they traveled. One night cycle. As the fleet drifted in deep space, First Officer Lar watched the screens. The blip pulsed once, brighter, then went still again. He felt his skin grow cold. "Captain," he said slowly, "I think it's watching us." Draven laughed it off. But he didn't sleep that night. On the 9th week, they reached the system where the signal had come from. A yellow star burned. In the center, with a handful of rocky planets and a few gas giants, nothing looked special. The source of the signal was somewhere near the 3rd planet, a blue and green sphere wrapped in clouds. Beautiful. Someone whispered on the bridge. The peace message was prepared. Dozens of languages, light bursts, and radio pulses were sent toward the planet, and then they waited. The reply came 3 hours later. It was not a greeting. The sound was cold, flat, and carried no warmth. A voice, deep and human, spoke 3 words. "Identify yourself now." The translators scrambled, running the voice through every known database. The language was unknown, but the tone needed no translation. It was not a welcome. It was a demand. Captain Draven ordered a return message, calm and polite. They explained they were a peaceful delegation from the Galactic Council, seeking contact. The response came faster this time, and it made the crew uneasy. "Remain where you are. Do not approach." Draven exchanged glances with his officers. "This is not the way first contact goes," he muttered. "They should be curious, eager, not." This, while they argued, the blip moved. For the first time, it changed position on their screens. It was no longer at the edge of the sensors. It was closer now, much closer. "Captain, it's big," Lar said. "Very big." Every scanner in the fleet turned toward the object. The data poured in. It was massive, hundreds of times larger than their own ships. Its surface was dark, almost invisible against the void. No engine glow, no life signs. Just mass. The fleet went silent. No one spoke as they realized the blip was not a reading error. It was a ship then, without a signal. Or warning, the stars seemed to shift. Space bent in ways that made the crew's vision blur. Out of the darkness, a shape emerged. A giant warship, black as midnight, sliding into view like a predator breaking the surface of a deep ocean. The hull was marked with lines they had never seen before. human letters, strange and sharp. Along its side, huge cannon ports yawned. Open like the mouths of hunting beasts, the alien fleet froze. A single new voice came over their channels, calm, controlled, dangerous. You have entered restricted space. State your intent. Draven's throat was dry. He managed to speak, his words shaking. We are here for peace. The reply was short. You are here for trouble. The warship didn't move closer, but its presence filled the void. Sensors showed impossible readings. Energy reserves so high they made no sense. Armor thicker than anything the Council's engineers could imagine. It was like looking at the weapon of a god. On the Zarathi flagship, the crew could feel it. Not just the threat of death, but the weight of something ancient. Something patient. Something that had been waiting for them to come. Draven leaned forward, his voice low. Get every ship on alert. Keep weapons cold, but ready. The warship's lights shifted once, a slow pulse across its hull. It felt like a heartbeat, and then, just as suddenly as it appeared, the signal from the planet went dark. The source of the first contact was gone. The only thing in their path now was the black warship, unmoving, watching. No one knew it yet, but the Blip was more than a ship. It was a warning from Earth, a warning that first contact had just become something else entirely. The alien fleet did not move for a long time. The dark warship stayed in their path, silent and still. It was so large that the Zarathi crews could not see where it ended. Its surface swallowed the starlight. Captain Draven sat in his command chair, staring at the massive shape on the screen. Send another peace message, he said at last. His voice was calm, but his eyes stayed on the warship. The translators worked fast. A message of greeting was sent in hundreds of languages, each carrying words of friendship. It traveled through the void toward the black ship. There was no reply. Instead, the alien fleet's sensors caught something strange. A ripple moved through space like heat waves, but colder. The massive warship was powering up. A voice came again, cutting through all frequencies. Identify yourself. The fleet answered quickly, stating their name, purpose, and peaceful intent. The response was the same as before. Remain where you are. Do not approach. The crew exchanged nervous glances. They had never been told to stay away in a first contact. Usually, new civilizations wanted to meet, to share, to learn, but here there was only resistance. Draven gave the order to hold position, but deep inside he felt a pull. The planet beyond the warship was beautiful, blue oceans, white clouds. In Greenland, life flourished there. Somewhere on its surface was the source of the strange signal they had detected. He could not leave without answers. Slow approach, he ordered. 1/3 speed, no weapons active. Engines flared softly as the fleet began to move. The warship did not move at first. Then, the Blip shifted. It glided to the side, still blocking the direct path to the planet. It was like a wall that would not open. On the bridge, First Officer Lar whispered, "It's hurting us." Draven's jaw tightened. Or warning us. The fleet kept moving, inching closer. Every kilometer they traveled, the sensors picked up more about the warship. It had weapon systems the Council had no record of. Hull plating thicker than anything they could build. Energy readings so high, instruments kept resetting. Then something unexpected happened. A small light appeared on the warship's hull. It blinked slowly. Then another light joined it. Soon, a line of lights stretched across the ship's side. They were not random, they formed shapes, symbols, human letters. The translation teams worked furiously. After a few minutes, they cracked part of the meaning. The lights spelled one thing: boundary. "This is a border," Lar said quietly. Draven frowned. "A border to what?" No one answered. The fleet sent another message, asking permission to cross and to meet in person. The warship stayed silent. Then, without warning, their screens changed. The warship was no longer in front of them. It was above them. One moment it had been hundreds of kilometers away. The next it hung directly over the fleet, blocking the light from the distant sun. Gasps filled the bridge. It jumped. A sensor officer whispered, "No warp signature, no buildup." It was just there. Before the crew could recover, every ship's communications went dark. No channels worked. Even ship-to-ship messages failed. They were cut off completely. The only sound was the steady hum of their own engines. The silence felt heavy, pressing against them. After 11 long seconds, the comms returned. The first thing they heard was the human voice again. "You were told not to approach?" Draven opened his mouth to answer, but the warship's shadow began to move. It slid across the fleet slowly, like a predator circling prey. Every alien ship's shields activated automatically, uncommanded. As if their systems could feel the danger, one of the younger officers whispered, "Why don't they attack?" Law replied, "Because they don't need to." The captain of the second Zarathi cruiser broke protocol. "This is nonsense," he snapped over the fleet's private channel. "They are one ship. We are 20. We could, but before he finished, the warship drifted closer to his vessel. It did not fire. It didn't have to. Zarathi cruiser's hull sensors began flashing red. The massive cannons on the warship's side were locking onto them. One by one, the angry captain went silent. When the warship finally stopped moving, it faced the entire fleet again. Then, for the first time, it opened a direct visual channel. The bridge screens lit up with an image. A human stood there. A tall figure, dressed in dark uniform, with eyes like steel. The background was dim, but shapes of crew and glowing consoles could be seen. The human spoke slowly, in a language that was already being translated by the fleet's systems. "This is the Earth's defense. Vessel Titan. You are in restricted space. State your reason for entry, or turn back." Draven stood. "We are here for peace," he said firmly. "We detected a signal. We wish to meet the people of this world." The human's expression did not change. "The signal was not for you." The words were cold. Final. The screen went dark. The warship began to drift backward, as if to let them turn away. But Draven did not order retreat, not yet. Somewhere deep inside him, curiosity burned brighter than fear. This was not just a first contact. It was something bigger. The warship was guarding the planet for a reason. And whatever that reason was, it was powerful enough to make a ship like the Titan appear and hold back 20 alien vessels without firing a single shot. For now, the alien fleet stayed still. But every crew member felt it, the tension in the void. The moment before a storm, they had not come this far to leave empty, dash-handed, and the Titan warship was not done watching them. The alien fleet hung in the dark. The massive black warship, Titan, faced them without moving. No weapons fired. No threats shallowed. Only that heavy silence that pressed on every mind like deep ocean water. Captain Draven had been in space for 30 years. He had faced pirates, storms, and dangerous beasts that lived between the stars. But this was different. The Titan was not acting like any enemy he knew, was not trying to scare them, was simply there, watching, measuring. "Captain." First Officer Lar said quietly, "They are scanning us again." Draven's eyes shifted to the sensor displays. The readings showed invisible beams sweeping through every ship in the fleet. Not just weapon scans, deep structural scans. They were looking through holes into engines, into power cores. They were learning everything. "Raise shields," Draven ordered. The shields came up, but the scans did not stop. It was as if the Titan didn't even notice the defensive barrier. The alien crews could feel it. The ship was peeling them. Open like fruit, then, something stranger happened. All at once, every ship's lights flickered. Engines slowed. Weapons went dark. The hum of power that filled every deck dropped to nothing. The fleet was dead in space. "Report," Draven barked. "No power, no control," the engineering officer shouted. "It's not an attack. Something's switched us off." The only sound was the faint creak of metal as the ships drifted. Draven's heart pounded. He looked at the screen, expecting to see the Titan moving in for the kill. But the warship just stayed there, silent. a black shadow against the stars. For 11 seconds, the fleet was blind, deaf, and helpless. Then as suddenly as it stopped, the power returned. Lights flared. Engines hummed. Lilla. Shields came back. Online, the bridge filled with fast breathing and the sound of nervous hands on controls. What was that? Lar whispered. Draven's voice was low. A warning. But if it was only a warning, why hadn't they spoken? Why hadn't they demanded surrender? Draven had the answer before he wanted to say it out loud. Because they don't see us as a threat. The crew looked at him in shock. No one wanted to believe it. The second Zorathi cruiser sent a private message to the flagship. We should fire now, before they do it again. Draven ignored it. If the Titan could shut down 20 ships in seconds, without firing a shot then attacking it, would be suicide. The fleet stayed still for another hour. The Titan did not move. It did not speak. It only watched. Finally, the alien delegation decided to try one more time. A single, small shuttle left the Zorathi flagship, carrying diplomats, scientists, and translators. It was unarmed, slow, and broadcasting peace signals. The shuttle moved forward, aiming to pass under the Titan and head toward the planet. It never got that far, halfway across the gap. The shuttle vanished from the scanners. No explosion, no debris, just gone. Find it, Draven shouted. The sensors scanned the empty space again and again, but there was nothing. The shuttle's transponder was silent. Its crew did not answer. The Titan still did not move. Lar turned slowly toward the captain. They didn't destroy it. They took it. Draven's skin went cold. Why? No one could answer. The fleet began whispering across private channels. Some wanted to retreat now. Others wanted to test the Titan's defenses. But everyone agreed on one thing. Whatever the humans were, they were far beyond the galactic. Council's understanding are as past. No shuttle returned. When the Titan finally moved, it was so slow and quiet that it almost went unnoticed at first. The massive ship drifted sideways, blocking the path to the planet completely. Then a new signal came, short and sharp. Your presence here is unacceptable. You will turn back. Draven took a deep breath. And if we don't? There was no answer. Instead, the Titan's surface lit up in thin red lines. They glowed brighter and brighter until they burned against the blackness of space. The weapons ports on the warship's hull began to open. The sensor officer's voice trembled. Captain, those are planetary-class cannons. Each one could break a moon. The fleet went silent, and yet no shot came. The Titan was showing them its teeth, but not biting. Draven understood the message now. Leave or be erased. But curiosity still burned in him. The planet behind that warship. The strange signal they had heard. What could be worth guarding like this? He stared at the giant ship on the screen and knew one thing. If they left now, they might never know the truth. Somewhere in the dark, deep inside the Titan warship, a human commander was watching him too, measuring him, deciding what came next. The silence between them was heavier than any battle. It was the kind of silence that could turn into fire in an instant. The fleet stayed, frozen in space. The Titan warship blocked the planet completely, a wall of black metal and silent power. No more words came from the humans, no more warnings. For a while, nothing happened. Engines stayed cold, weapons stayed offline. The Zorathi crews whispered to one another, voices low, as if afraid the warship could hear them. Captain Draven sat in his chair, eyes fixed on the Titan. He had faced many dangerous things in his career, but this was different. This ship didn't feel like an enemy that could be fought. It felt like an ocean, deep, ancient, and full of things that could swallow you whole without leaving a ripple. Then, without warning, one of the fleet's scout ships went silent. No alarm, no explosion, just silence. Contact lost with Scout 4, a sensor officer said. His voice was flat, like he didn't believe his own words. Find them, Draven ordered. The scanners swept the area. There was nothing, no debris. Number. Heat trail. No sign the ship had ever been there. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. An hour later, another scout ship disappeared. This time, they saw it happen. On the fleet's shared tactical display, Scout 6 was a bright green dot moving slowly along the outer formation. Then it flickered once, like a glitch on a screen. It vanished. Every ship's systems reported the same thing. No object found. Lar turned to Draven. "It's taking them, Captain." One by one, Draven's jaw tightened. "How?" There was no answer. The Titans still hadn't moved. The missing ship's last sensor logs were checked. Both had been patrolling close to the warship's shadow. The shadow. Draven leaned forward. "Magnify the space under the Titan's hull." The screen zoomed in. The black of the ship's body filled the display, so dark it seemed to drink the light around it. But then, hidden near the center, the sensors caught something. Faint distortions, like shapes moving within the shadow. Not ships, not drones. Something else. The image blurred as the Titan shifted slightly, not enough to be threatening. Just enough to remind them it was awake. The fleet pulled its scouts back, tightening formation. No one wanted to be near the Titan's shadow anymore, but that didn't stop the disappearances. Later that cycle, the third ship was taken. This time it wasn't a scout, it was a full cruiser. Hundreds of crew. Gone in a second. The bridge of the flagship went dead silent. Lar's voice was low. "They're not killing them, they're collecting them." Draven stared at the dark warship. For what? No one answered. The remaining crews were starting to crack. Some officers spoke openly about fleeing. Others swore they would fight rather than be taken. But Draven knew neither choice would matter. The Titan moved, like it owned the space around them. If it wanted them gone, they'd be gone. If it wanted them alive, they'd stay alive until it decided otherwise. In the middle of the growing panic, the Titan moved again. It slid forward, closing the distance between it and the fleet by half. No weapons activated, no lights flashed. It simply filled more of their view, an endless wall of black armor. The Zorathi crews felt smaller than they ever had in their lives. Then the voice came again. Calm, slow, cold. "You are still here." Draven stood. "We are here to speak with your people. We will not leave without answers." The reply was almost instant. "Your questions are not worth the cost." Just like that, the channel went dead. Moments later, the Titan began to turn, but not toward the fleet. Instead, it rotated slowly until its side faced deep space. Lar frowned. "What's it doing?" Then the answer came. From the Titan's side, a massive shape unfolded along, a dark structure that looked almost like a harpoon. It aimed into empty space and fired. The shot was silent in the void, but its effect was terrifying. A distant asteroid, larger than a city, shattered into glowing fragments. The warship turned back to face them. It didn't say a word. It didn't have to. Every alien on every ship understood the message. If we wanted you gone, you would be gone. But Draven wasn't ready to leave. The disappearances, the signal, the planet, the pieces didn't fit. The humans weren't acting like conquerors. They weren't acting like defenders either. They were acting like keepers. Of what? He still didn't know. And the only way to find out was to stay in the shadows of the most dangerous ship he had ever seen. No one in the fleet slept. The crews sat at their stations, staring at the black wall of the Titan warship. No one dared to break formation. Every moment felt stretched thin, like a wire ready to snap. Captain Draven hadn't moved from the command chair in ours. His eyes were locked on the warship's shadow, the place where 3 ships had simply vanished. He could still see the faint shapes moving in that darkness, slow, smooth, patient. Then it happened. A ripple passed across the Titan's hull, like a wave under black glass. The warship's surface began to glow faintly, thin red lines tracing. Patterns across its armor, patterns formed no language anyone knew, but they pulsed in a slow rhythm, like a heartbeat. Captain Lar said quietly, "Their weapons are charging." "Hold position," Draven replied. The Zorathi commanders on the private channel were less calm. One shouted, "We must fire first." Another growled, Retreat now. Draven ignored them all. The Titan's lines glowed brighter, shifting from red to white-hot. But instead of aiming at a single ship, the warship tilted slightly, pointing above the fleet into the empty black of space. Draven's gut twisted. Brace. The shot was silent but blinding. A beam of white light lanced through the dark, vanishing into the distance. The scanners went wild. The beam didn't stop at empty space. It kept going, far past the range of the fleet's vision, cutting through anything in its path. Then the long-range sensors picked it up. A drifting, icy moon half a light hour away had been split in two. Its fragments tumbled into the void, glowing faint from the energy that passed through them. Every ship in the fleet was silent. That could have been them. The Titan turned back toward them, glowing lines dimming once again to red, then fading. Entirely, the voice came back over the comms, cold and exact. "This is your only warning." One of the Zorathi commanders broke. "You're leaving now." Several ships began to turn, engines flaring. But then, from the shadow of the Titan, something stirred. A massive black shape unfolded. Long arms, sharp as blades, spreading wide like a predator blocking its prey. It didn't move toward the fleeing ships. It didn't need to. The ships stopped turning. No one wanted to see what would happen if they tried to run. Draven's heart was hammering. He knew what the warship was doing. It was making sure they understood the Titan could erase them at any moment. But it didn't want to. Not yet. Then Draven made a decision no one expected. He opened a direct channel to the Titan. "This is Captain Draven of the alien fleet. If you want us gone, you could have destroyed us already." "Yeah, but you haven't." "Why?" For a moment there was nothing but static. Then the voice answered, "You have brought something dangerous here. We will not let it reach the surface." Frowned. "We brought nothing. We came because of your signal." There was a pause, and the voice changed, colder, sharper. "That was not our signal." The bridge went dead silent. Draven's mind raced. If the humans hadn't sent the signal, who had, before he could? Speak again, the Titan cut the channel. Its glowing lines faded completely. It went still once more. The other commanders were shouting in private channels again, demanding to retreat. But Draven barely heard them. His thoughts were on the missing ships, the strange shadow, and now the possibility that something else, something even worse, had drawn them here. The Titan was not a hunter after all. It was a guard, and whatever it was guarding against might still be out there. The fleet held its place, the memory of the moon-splitting shot still burning in every mind. The commanders whispered among themselves, their voices shaking, their words full of fear. One commander, Captain Tharn of the Warship Vareth's Claw, was not afraid, or pretended not to be. He had fought in 5 border wars, survived 2 ambushes, and carried more scars than medals. To him, the Titan warship was just another enemy. "They are bluffing," Tharn said over the fleet channel. "If they wanted to kill us, they would have done it. They are trying to frighten us into leaving." "I will not be scared by a shadow," Draven warned him. "Do nothing. This is not an opponent, we understand." But Tharn only cut the channel and gave the order. The Varath's claw turned, aiming its forward cannons directly at the Titan's hull. Energy built in its weapon cores, the heat making the metal groan. Then, with a roar that echoed through space on the coms, the warship fired. The shot struck the Titan dead center and did nothing. Not a spark. Not a scratch. It was like firing into the night itself. For a moment, the Titan didn't react at all. Then the voice came over every frequency, deep and slow. "You should not have done that." The change was instant. Lights ran across the Titan's hull, but this time they were not the slow, pulsing lines of before. These moved fast, weaving patterns that the Zorathi computers couldn't track from beneath its hull. The shadow moved, and out of it came shapes, 3 long black vessels slid forward, each the size of a cruiser, but far slimmer like blades. They moved without heat, without sound, without visible engines. They didn't fire. They didn't need to. Each one locked onto a different ship in the fleet. Not with weapons, but with a strange blue light that wrapped around the target like A web. In less than 5 seconds, the 3 ships' engines went dark. Weapons shut down. Shields collapsed. One of them was the Virat's claw. On the bridge of his ship, Tharn shouted orders. None of them worked. Systems stayed dead. Crew shouted in panic. The blue light faded, and the ships drifted, helpless. Draven opened a private channel to the Titan. You've disabled them. Now what? The human voice answered. Now they learn. The blade-like vessels released the captured ships.
Oh, yes.
Systems came back online, but everything had been changed. Every weapon, every shield, every system had been reprogrammed. The designs now carried human encryption, unbreakable by alien codes. The message was clear. The Titan had let them live, but could take their ships. Whenever it wished, Terran came back onto the fleet channel. His voice was shaking. I apologize. I misjudged them, no one replied. Draven knew the truth now, and it chilled him more than the moonshot had. The humans didn't destroy the ships because they didn't see them as a threat. To the Titan, the fleet was like insects trapped in a jar. And yet, they hadn't crushed the jar. Why? That question grew heavier in Draven's mind when the Titan spoke again. The voice as calm as if nothing had happened. Leave or stay, and be responsible for what comes. Draven stared at the black wall of the warship. Something about those words felt wrong. Not a threat, a warning. The Titan was dangerous, yes, but maybe. Maybe it wasn't the most dangerous thing here. And if Draven was right, they were about to find out what the humans were afraid of. The fleet stayed in silence after the warning. No one fired. No one moved. Even the smallest scout ships kept their engines idle, afraid to draw attention. Captain Draven sat forward in his chair, his mind turning over the humans' last words. Be responsible for what comes. It didn't sound like a threat. It sounded like fear. And Draven had never imagined humans could fear anything. He opened the channel again. Titan Warship, this is Captain Draven. I'm astounded. What? I will not leave until I understand what you are guarding. You have taken ships. You have fired on the void. You have blocked us from the planet. Tell me what is there. For a long moment there was no reply. Then the voice returned colder than before, but without anger. You mistake this for our world. It is not. It is a cage. The bridge went still. A cage for what? Draven asked. The voice was flat. For something that should not exist. Lar whispered to Draven. They're lying. Draven wasn't so sure. The human continued. We did not send the signal. It was sent from the surface, by what lives there. It is old. Older than us. Older than your people. It waits. It learns. And it calls. Draven's blood chilled. Calls for help. Oh, it calls for prey. The fleet erupted in whispers and shouts over private channels. Some wanted to flee immediately. Others demanded proof. Draven raised his voice. If this is true, why not destroy it? There was a pause. Then, quietly, we tried. The voice deepened, heavy with something almost like regret. 3 times in our history we sent fleets to burn the surface. None returned. The ones who went down did not die. They came back. Wrong. And when they did, they tried to open more worlds. Lar shook his head. They expect us to believe a ghost story, but Draven saw something in the details. The humans didn't sound proud. They sounded tired. He asked one last question. If it's so dangerous, why let us get this close? This time the answer came like a knife. Because you already have. Draven froze. What do you mean? Titan's voice sharpened. 3 of your ships are gone. They are not destroyed. They are inside the shadow now. We are holding them, but not for long. And when they break free, they will not be yours anymore. The weight of those words settled like ice in Draven's chest. It wasn't an enemy waiting on the planet. It was already inside the missing ships, and whatever it was, The humans were struggling to contain it. The voice finished with a final warning. If you leave now, you will destroy them before they reach you. If you stay and they escape, they will take you apart from the inside. The channel went dead. Lars stared at Draven. We can't just... He never finished the sentence. On the far edge of the formation, the shadow under the Titan moved, and something came out. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't alive. It was something in between. A black mass, shifting, crawling, stretching long arms that hooked into the stars themselves. The missing ships floated within it like flies in amber, and then they began to move. The black mass moved like smoke. In water, its shape never staying the same for more than a heartbeat. It glided out from the Titan's shadow, carrying the 3 missing ships inside it. At first, they drifted, lifeless. Then their lights flickered, not like normal engines or systems, but in strange, uneven pulses, like breathing. Draven stood. They're waking up. Lars' voice cracked. That's not them anymore. Across the fleet, alarms began to wail. The 3 ships broke free from the black mass, but something clung to them, tendrils of the same shifting substance. Running across their hulls like veins, Draven ordered, all ships, shields up. The fleet obeyed, but it was too late. One of the infected ships moved faster than anything its engines could ever allow. It crossed the space between them in seconds, ramming into a Zorathi cruiser. The cruiser's shields didn't even flash. The black tendrils pierced straight through, slipping into the metal like liquid. Within moments, the cruiser's lights changed to the same strange pulsing. Its crew began screaming over open coms, then went silent. Cut that ship off. Draven shouted. Half the fleet opened fire. Beams, torpedoes, railguns all slammed into the infected cruiser. When the smoke cleared, its hull was scarred, but still moving. Then came the worst part. The damage healed, holes closed. The ship's armor reshaped itself. Lar whispered, "It's learning from our weapons." Draven didn't answer. His eyes were on the Titan warship until now. It had done nothing. Silent. Watching then, without warning, the Titan lit up. Not with red or white lines, but a blinding gold light that turned the darkness around it into day. From its hull, hundreds of small objects launched into space. They weren't ships. They weren't drones. They were something far stranger, flat black discs that moved in perfect silence, swarming toward the infected ships. When they touched the tendrils, the black substance screamed. The sound didn't travel through space, but every ship in the fleet heard it. In there comes a sharp, tearing shriek that made crews cover their ears. The Titan's weapons didn't just destroy. They burned, ripped, and erased every piece of the black substance they touched. One infected ship exploded under the swarm's assault, breaking apart into dust. Another tried to run, but the Titan moved impossibly fast for something so large, and cut it in two with a single beam. The last ship fought harder, twisting and firing wildly at anything that moved. But the gold light caught it, wrapping around it like chains, holding it still while the swarm consumed it piece by piece. Within minutes, the infected ships were gone. The black mass that had carried them began to shrink, pulling away from the fleet. It retreated toward the planet below, fading into the atmosphere until it was gone from sight. The Titan's gold light dimmed. The swarm returned to its shadow. Then the voice came again. "This is why we warned you. If it escapes, we will burn the skies until nothing remains. Do not test us again." Draven didn't argue. He gave the order for the fleet to withdraw. As the ships turned away, Lars spoke softly. "You think that thing on the planet still alive?" Draven didn't answer right away. He looked back one last time at the Titan warship, silent, still, and watching. "Yes," he said finally. "And I think that's why the humans never leave."